Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 432 of Screw the Commute podcast. I'm here with Dr. Ty Belnap. And I'll tell you what, becoming a doctor and having multiple degrees is a long way from being homeless as a teenager. So we're going to hear his inspiring story. And he's been on a line doing stuff just almost as long as me. So we were laughing about some of the stuff that we went through in the old days and in the beginning. So we'll bring him on in a minute. Hope you didn't miss episode 431. Warren Carlisle is one of the most brilliant people I know. I mean, he is just brilliant. Facebook consults with him. He's a community builder, and he has the largest octopus. I mean, I laugh about this, but he's got 600,000 people in all the social media for Octonation, which is it's a 503c, I think, whatever they call it, nonprofit to save the ocean and based around octopuses. So, and octopuses is the right plural. I thought it was octopi, but no, it's octopuses. But he's brilliant on community leading, and he has a new Community Leaders Association. And guess what? You don't have to be a bikini model to have hundreds of thousands of people following you if you follow his direction. So don't miss episode 431. And if you want to find a back episode, you go to screwthecommute.com and then / the episode number, which is 431. Now, how would you like to hear your own voice here on Screw the Commute? Well, if the show's helped you out at all in your business or given you ideas to help you start a business, we want to hear about it. Visit screwthecommute.com, look for a little blue sidebar that says send a voicemail. Click on it, talk into your phone or computer, tell me how the show's helped you, and hey, put your website in there too, because you'll get a big shout out in your own voice in front of thousands of people on Screw the Commute on a future episode. And pick up a copy of our automation ebook. This literally, we figured it out a couple years ago. Just one of the tips in this book has saved me 7.5 million keystrokes. Okay. And that's no exaggeration. We kind of estimated it. So pick that up. We sell it for $27, but it's yours free for listening to the show at screwthecommute.com/automate free, screwthecommute.com/automate free. And while you're over there, pick up a copy of our podcast app at screwthecommute.com/app. That's APP. So you can put us on your cell phone and tablet and take us with you on the road. Also, I've been harping on this for a long time, that if you have the skill to sell from home, which is what our guest Ty is about and what I'm about, you won't be affected by the craziness that's happening in the world. I mean, people call me up like said, "Hey, Tom, you okay? You okay with the pandemic?" And I'm like, "What? I've been sitting in this house the last 27 years. It's not," and it really didn't even notice. My business has not noticed this trouble with the pandemic, but I do see and I feel for all the people that are hurting because of it. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. So about 13 years ago, I formalized my training in the form of a licensed school. It's the only licensed, dedicated internet and digital marketing school in the country, probably the world. And it's licensed by SCHEV, the State Council on Higher Education in Virginia. But you don't have to be in Virginia because it's good quality distance learning, unlike these traditional colleges that all of a sudden have a distance learning course so they can rip you off remotely instead of in person, and you're still competing for jobs at Starbucks after they teach you how to protest. So forget that. This is imtcva.org. It teaches all the hardcore skills that every business on earth needs. We got students making money before a couple months into the school because the skills are in such high demand. And a little later, I'll tell you how you can get a full scholarship to the school, which you can gift to somebody or use yourself for further training if you're in my high-end mentor program. All right, let's get to the main event. After working as a network engineer at companies like Compaq, HP, and Microsoft, those are all dreaded JOBs, folks, Dr. Ty Belknap started his own web design and online marketing company called Port Bell SEO, and he now lives in Seattle, Washington. He has 4 employees, but you guess what? The closest one to him lives in England. so we're going to hear from him. And Ty, are you ready to screw the commute?
Hey, Tom, I'm definitely ready. Thanks for inviting me on the show.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Yeah, we were originally going to fight it out over whether SEO is worth it or not, but when I found out about your great skill in remote workers and handling them and recruiting them and how you evolve them over the course of time to see if they're really going to help your business out, I thought that's a more helpful thing for folks. So tell us about that. How you are. Well, first of all, tell us about your business and what you're doing for people, and then tell us how these remote folks work into it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's funny how you talked about the whole COVID thing and how it affected business. Actually, the big thing it did for me was make me busy.
Yeah.
The downside to it was everybody wanted my help, but of course, most of the people that wanted my help were affected so bad by COVID they didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so we did a lot of what we could to help, especially with restaurants. We actually did a workshop middle of the year last year to help local restaurants get online more. So that was one thing that we were able to do to kind of give back, and I was really glad to be able to do that. But yeah, we've been doing online, or I should say, remote working for I won't say since 2002. 2002 is when I officially started my business. I was working for companies before that. I started with local employees. And the funny thing was the local employees were just, I couldn't get people to stay working for me. And so rather than keep hiring local people as employees and then go through all the hassle of hiring an employee and then firing an employee, I said, forget it. I'm going to start hiring freelancers. That way, if they don't do the job, I don't have to worry about firing them. I just don't pay them.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
It worked out a lot simpler. And so I started going through places like Upwork or Fiverr, Guru.com, places like that. And the way that I would do it, I've learned this over the last 20 years, is I'll take a freelancer and I'll give them one job and see how they do. And the good and the bad news is that generally the first job a freelancer does is usually amazing. It's the third or fourth job that they do. It's a few months down the road. Are they still doing things on time? Are they still doing the high quality work? That's where you can really tell what their work ethic is like. And like I said, I've learned this the hard way. I'd have freelancers that did a great job the first time, and then I'd say, hey, I want to hire you, and it didn't work out. And so now what I do is I'll take a freelancer and they will freelance for me over the freelancer site for about a year.
Wow.
And yeah, I give it some time now. And if they do a good job over the year, then I'll say, hey, I want to hire you part-time. You can still freelance part-time, but I'm going to hire you part-time and give you a wage. And then you work for me part-time and we see how it goes. I usually do that another 3 to 6 months. And then if that works well, then I hire them as a full-time employee. And I tell them they can still do the freelance work on the side if they want to, but the work they do for me has to come first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, what's interesting is, I've been pushing for years the Philippines. There's a lot of, they speak English better than I do, pretty much. But you have a little different bent on that. Tell them about the way you choose a person.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, my employees, I have one in England, one in Macedonia, and one in. I didn't have one in Serbia, but there's been a lot of unrest in Serbia, and she actually had to leave the country because of everything that was going on there. So I just hired another person that is in India. So I've got a person from India now. I have nobody from the Philippines right now, but I don't hire based on where they are. I hire based on the person. I look for the skills that I need, and I try to find the best person on the freelancer sites that has those skills. And then if they prove that they can do the skills and work on their own, work well on their own, that's when I decide to hire them and go through the process of all that.
Are they all highly fluent in English?
Yeah, that is one thing that I don't speak any other
Yeah.
languages. I don't even speak Klingon well. So yeah, I definitely need them to speak English.
So, what other criteria do you use in the course of a year? What are you watching for?
The big things I'm watching for, and this is the big things with freelancers, is they generally, if they're advertising a certain thing, they generally know how to do that thing. But a freelancer really is an independent business person, which means they're running their own business as well. And so I look for things like time management and communication. Those are the two big things. I'll contact them, and like the guy that I have in Macedonia is tough. It's literally a 12-hour time difference. When it's noon my time, it's midnight his time.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
even know
expect
where that is. Where is that?
the middle of Europe.
Okay, all right.
Yes, it's a tiny country in the middle of Europe. And yeah, it is literally a 12-hour time difference. So it's kind of tough. I don't expect him to contact me back at midnight. But if he hasn't contacted me back by 8 a.m. his time, I'm wondering what's going on.
Hmm.
It's because I expect him to have a good work ethic.
And you make them clear the expectations clear to them up front, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh yeah. By the time I've hired them, I mean I've already been working with them usually for a year before I've hired them, so they know my expectations, and I do go through them as they work as a freelancer. I'll tell them, I'll say, what I usually do up front, even with each project, is I'll say, here's the project, here's the scope of work that we have. Can you do this by X day? And they'll either tell me yes or no, or my main web designer now, I love him. He just says, well, here you go, it's done. So he's really good. I'm really I got very lucky in finding him, and that's what I look for. But it's not easy either. I mean, working with remote people, I've probably gone through, I'll say, 40 web designers, and I used to be a designer myself, so maybe I'm more picky than some other people might be. I stopped doing the web design when WordPress got more popular, simply because there's other younger people that know WordPress better than I do.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's probably been 40 people that I've gone through to find one really good one. But that's the positive of having freelancers is when I hire them, the money I pay them goes into an escrow account. So they know it's there, but they don't get to touch it until I approve what they've done.
Hmm.
And so it gives them an incentive. And so if they don't have a great work ethic and they're still not doing a great job, even though they know the money's there, then I know it's someone I'm not actually going to hire.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, are you setting up the escrow, or is it through one of the sites?
I used to do it myself, but that was actually a lot more expensive. It's less expensive to do it through one of the sites now.
Hmm. I think I would tell the people, even if we bomb your country, you better get in touch with me by 8 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
the one girl in Serbia, I mean, she was actually in the middle of a project, and she told me, she said she felt really bad. She said, "I'm sorry, but there's some things going on. We may need to leave." And then unfortunately she just disappeared. So
Oh,
I'm pretty
Jesus.
sure that she got into a refugee camp. Let's hope she did. But
Oh, my
things
goodness.
like that I understand, and I feel really bad for her, and I'm really hoping she'll contact me someday. But but other than that,
Yeah,
yeah, I
right.
expect them to contact me right away.
So I shouldn't be laughing about
Yeah.
that. That's bad. But so it really takes you a year to figure out if somebody is going to be okay or not.
Well, it's I wouldn't say it takes a year, but I give it a year, and I'm giving them work throughout the whole year, so they're
Hmm.
working for me the whole time. They're just working as a freelancer. On my end, it really doesn't change the pricing or really anything else between them being a freelancer and me hiring them. It helps them out because the freelancer sites charge them a lot of money.
Hmm.
And so the advantage really is to them much more than it is to me. That's another part of the reason why I take my time. I don't even tell them that I'm thinking of hiring them. I'll wait until I feel extremely comfortable with working with them, and then I'll approach them with it.
Now, what would be an average rate, and would you pay for somebody, and then would that escalate as they were with you longer?
Definitely escalates as they're with me longer. As a freelancer, they generally set the price, and it's usually by project. what I'll do is I'll find out what the average wage is for that kind of person or that kind of job title in their country. Like the guy in Macedonia, they make an average of $5 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I first hired him, I said, okay, how about I pay you $10 an hour as a part-time employee? And then as a full-time employee, I paid him $15 an hour. So it was 3 times what he would normally make,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still a deal for the US.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's happy. He goes on vacations all the time now.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah. All right, so let's take you back. So I understand you were homeless as a teenager. Tell us about that and how that came to be and how you overcame that to get multiple degrees and certifications and everything and get to be a doctor.
That was tough. As a teenager, I was about 15 years old when I found myself homeless, and I lived on the streets for almost 3 years.
How did you find yourself homeless at 15?
Um, I was going down the wrong path, and my parents decided that they wanted to move to a new place, and I didn't want to move, so I ran away.
Ah, okay.
And so I thought that I was going to be moving in with a person
So
who
it wasn't they were bad and abusing you and stuff. It was just it was more on you.
well, it was kind of a little bit of both. I wasn't abused, but I was neglected, I'll say.
Okay, all right.
And so, and yeah, when my parents decided to move and I said no, they kind of said, well, okay, fine, bye. You know? So, and later on, my father actually apologized to me for doing it. He felt really bad about it. So it was one of those things where it was just a bad decision on everybody's part at the time. And yeah, I found myself homeless. I lived on the streets for almost 3 years. And what really hit me was one day I was talking with an older guy. He must have been at least 30 or 35 years old.
Yeah, that's right.
When you're 17, it's
Yeah.
35-year-old, and I'm sorry, he was a 35-year-old homeless man, so he looked like he was probably 60 or 70.
Yeah.
The streets age you bad. And we're sitting there one day, and he's talking, and he's looking at his shoes, and he says, we are so rich. He says, the average homeless person in America lives better than the average person in India. This is back in the 80s. They didn't have the tech industry there at the time. And it dawned on me when he said that this was a person who resigned to being homeless for the rest of his life.
Right.
He had no other expectations. And then I realized that I had too. And I was only 17. And that was the day that I decided I couldn't live like this. I'm either going to die or I'm going to change. Which is it going to be? And that was the day I decided to start changing. And it's funny. I do believe that God put things into my life to help me to change, even though I wasn't a Christ follower at the time. But the right people started coming into my life at the right time to help me get out of that. And I went from being homeless to being a beach bum and surfer and dive master in Hawaii.
All right, so hold on there. So you're 17, not much resources. How did you get out of that? How did you get to Hawaii?
When I realized that and talking with friends, I contacted my parents. I didn't contact them to get out of what I was doing. I just contacted them and just to see how they were doing. And my mother immediately said, "Hey, we're in Hawaii now. I want you to come here." And so they bought me a ticket to go there.
All right.
And so my mom never wanted me to leave home. She was a little bit different than my father, and so she was very happy to have me back. And so they helped me get into Hawaii. They helped me get situated and everything there. And I say beach bum, but I wasn't really a beach bum. I always had a place to live, and I always had a job there. And but it was a great place to finally grow up and learn what it's like to live. When you're homeless, really all you ever do is stress out about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And in Hawaii, you kind of don't stress about anything. You wake up in the morning, it's 80 degrees. What are you going to stress about? Yeah, right. If you're hungry, you go on a dive, you catch some fish, maybe a lobster or two. Poor people in Hawaii eat lobster.
Right.
So it was a huge difference. I went from living a life full of stress to learning what it's like to live without stress no matter
Uh-huh.
what.
Okay.
And that really actually
Were you
shaped.
living at home or were you with your
No,
parents?
I had my own place very quickly.
Okay.
No, I immediately went to work, got jobs, because I did not want to be homeless again. I did not want to have to be reliant on other people either. And so no, I turned 18 shortly after I got there, so I was able to work. And yeah, there was one point where I had 3 jobs at one time, and also even did my own thing on the side. I did landscaping. When I became a dive master, I was doing that on my own, more of an entrepreneurial type of thing. Didn't do it very well. I was a good dive master, but I was a terrible business person. I didn't know how to do that kind of stuff at
Mm-hmm.
that time. So that was my first experience really at running my own business. And yeah, I did not do it very well at all. But I realized after being in Hawaii for 5 years that it's a very small place. And you're on an island. There's not very far you can go.
Right.
And there's no such thing as snow or any weather other than hot. So that's why I decided to move back to the Pacific Northwest. I'd saved up enough money to live for about 3 months in Hawaii. And I moved back to the Seattle area, and I was actually able to live for about a year off of that. But of course, after the year, I needed to get a job again. And so the only job I could find was selling computers.
Huh.
And I knew nothing about computers at the time. But I learned really quickly, and that's how I got in. That's how I got to be a techie nerd. Really was doing that. Was when I moved back to here and really got into it. And I found a passion in it. And yeah, I had the job for quite a while. I was a network engineer for over 10 years, working for many different companies. And I had actually designed several websites for Microsoft, internal ones. And I love doing the web design stuff, which is why when I had the opportunity, I started my own business. And again, I didn't have a lot of training on doing my own business, and so I was basically going down the same path I did when I was doing the dive master, which I knew how to do web design, but I didn't know how to run a business. And my first year in business, I think I made a total of almost 10% of what I made my last year at Microsoft. So it was a real eye opener,
Yeah.
and I really had the choice. Do I want to go back to another job and make money, or do I want to learn how to actually make money having my own business?
Yeah, a lot of
And
people were in that situation. The check is going to come if they go and sacrifice to make Bill Gates rich,
yeah,
or they got to get in out of their comfort zone to make it work in their own business.
yeah, exactly, and that's what I realized I had to do. It was another eye opener for me, and that's when I really started learning about what it is to be an entrepreneur, what it is to be a small business
And
person.
what year was this roughly?
2002.
2002. So
Yeah.
you started your own business. Now, how did you improve your skills at business, not what you were selling to people?
I started taking classes. The things that I didn't know well, I learned how to do enough to get by. And I think one of the biggest things I learned, and I don't remember where I heard this, but you hear a lot where you do a skills assessment and you find the things that you're not very good at, and then you learn more about those things. And either I heard somewhere or someone told me that if you're not good at those things, and let's say you're at a 3 in bookkeeping, and so you study really hard and you get to a 5 out of 10, but someone else is a 10 out of 10, hire them. Do what you're good at, hire other people to do what they're good at. And that to me was probably about the best piece of advice I ever got. So, and bookkeeping was a big one for me. So I hired a CPA, and yeah, it cost me some money. I just had to go out and sell more to pay for it.
Well,
So,
yeah. Now, the only thing people on here have heard me really rag on delegate and everything,
mhm.
and it's not that I don't think it's a good idea. It's the way people do it that I don't like. Is that if you don't have an understanding of what you're delegating, it's too easy to get ripped off.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I actually, it cracks me up. You're a web designer. I own the website killyourwebdesigner.com.
I love it.
because because I always ask people, okay, if you're an expert on, let's say, neurology or something, and so I say, how long would it take you to know that I'm an idiot and don't know what I'm talking about if it came to neurology? Um, and
Right.
they'd say, oh, 5 seconds. I said, well, how long do you think it takes a web designer to know that you're an idiot when it comes to talking about websites? He said, yeah, I get it now. So they can tell you anything and then you wouldn't know any better. So, so I'm not in favor of delegating everything unless you understand what you're delegating so you don't get ripped off.
No, I agree 100%, which is why I actually took classes on all the
Yeah.
things I didn't know so that I at least know a basic
Yeah,
understanding
that's perfect.
of doing it. Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny that you say that about web designers too, because 90% of my clients are people that have had a bad
Oh,
experience with another web designer.
okay, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I've lived that life for, 27 years now. People coming to me, "Oh God, I wish we'd have come to you first, Tom." And I'm not a web designer. It's just that I know how to make a world-class website for $150 with WordPress, a good quality theme that's
Mhm.
responsive, and a good professional level architect for making web pages and
Yeah.
$19 a month for Thrive themes. And they throw
Yeah.
in quiz builders and all this other stuff, so we got 80-year-old women making websites. I mean, I tell people, hey, if you have any trouble, go down to the local preschool and wake a kid up from his nap to help you.
Yeah. Yeah, most of what we do now with websites is helping people with the more advanced stuff, like setting up e-commerce, which
Yeah.
is still more difficult, things like that. Um, our work now is much more in the online marketing industry, helping people advertise and get the ads done right, especially with everything that's going on these days. Not the COVID stuff, but the other stuff that's going on with making sure you're diverse and inclusive and all that. Facebook, Google, Twitter, everybody is just pounding down on ads. You put an ad out there that you think is just fine. Like I did an ad for a chiropractor and it showed someone's back. And Facebook denied it, saying someone with a bad back may look on that negatively.
That's the point. They need to go to a chiropractor to get
Exactly.
it fixed.
but they denied the ad. I had to do an ad of just a smiling family.
Oh, it cracks. Yeah, I mean, I would love to get some of those people by the neck that never did a thing in their entire life, and they're in charge of my business when it comes to
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, and they're clueless.
Oh yeah.
I got something. What was it the other day? Um, oh, s somebody mentioned an article I wrote, which was a consumer advocate article that's been seen hundreds of thousands of times, had to have saved millions and millions of dollars by people getting ripped off at seminars. It was the
Mhm.
top 20 seminar scams. It says this doesn't comply with our community standards, and we're sorry. You can click this button to have us recheck it, but because of COVID, it'll be a long time. Like, and some idiot that never did anything in their entire life is sitting there making a decision on something that I just saved thousands of people millions of dollars, and this idiot that's making $75,000 a year is in charge of my business.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Either that or he's got a side hustle scamming seminars.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, probably.
No, I agree, and that's the biggest thing that we're, especially with Facebook, is we're battling it. I mean, people's posts are even being deleted out when they just say one wrong word, or they talk about a person with too light or too dark of a skin color.
Yeah.
It's just getting
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it's and there's massive complaints of censorship and bias and things like that. So something will give one of these days. I don't know what it'll be, but something will give on that. But I'm still in favor of paid ads.
Yeah.
I told you when we talked about this because you've been an SEO guy, and I was a SEO guy up until about 5 years ago, and there's
Mhm.
just too much hassle. It's just easier to put an ad in because my stuff's mostly not controversial. So So
Yeah.
I don't really have many things disapproved. Although I have a crazy tennis site. I don't know if you know this, but I have the dubious distinction of being the largest person ever to produce and star in a tennis training video. So it's
That's
called
funny.
Fatso Tennis for the people that love tennis, but they're overweight and hopelessly out of shape. So,
Yeah.
so I had these series of cartoon ads of fat people playing tennis.
Hmm.
Nope, no way. Those
Oh my
they
God.
all got disapproved because no, you're shaming people and this. That. I'm not. I'm just so that whole ad campaign, nothing. No, they didn't let any of it pass. But
Yeah. That's about how ridiculous it's getting. Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah. I am an overweight person and I play tennis, but I can't talk to people about it.
well, I'm all out there. I got a 2 DVD set on tennis, and a lot of it's really hysterically funny because of some of the gadgets. I don't know if you ever saw that movie Tin Cup with Kevin Costner, where he was a golf guy and he was losing his mojo, and so he was trying all these weird gadgets to help him with his golf game.
I
So
did see that
yeah.
movie. Yeah.
So part of this DVD set that I made was all the stuff that fat people can use to help them out. So one of them, were on the butt of your tennis racket, you can put this suction cup so that you never have to bend over to pick the ball up. You can just push it down on the ball and pick it up.
That's funny. That's good.
But a lot of it was true, is like all the angles of the court and the types of shots and everything to make the other guy run like crazy and drop dead before you do, and it's and it's some dirty tricks like pick a middle court to play in. Don't play near the fences, the side fences, because
Mhm.
when you bend over to pick a ball up, you can accidentally kick it. And then it goes clear to the fence, and then you have to just take your time and breathe real heavy while you're going to retrieve the ball.
Give
Stuff like
yourself a breather.
yeah. so so what type of clients are you working with nowadays?
Well, we've always specialized in just working with small
Small
businesses,
business.
and we like working with local businesses as well. So
And
we
you're
like,
Tacoma, where are you, in Washington, right?
yeah, we're in Tacoma,
I was gonna
Washington,
say, oh, you
and
got a lot of people in Macedonia.
we're actually I'm working with my guy on actually setting up a shop in Macedonia because it
Oh,
looks
it's
like
a
we can get some
hotbed
great
for internet marketing.
well,
I'm just,
we're going to get some great tax breaks too, though.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
That'll be nice. And we don't just work with Tacoma companies. We work with companies all over the U.S.
Hmm.
We've got a couple in Australia. We've had one in UK, mostly U.S.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Most
but our
everything.
big thing is smaller companies, usually 50 employees or less.
Hmm.
And the whole point is to help smaller companies get higher in the search engine so they can go against the national guys, which
Yeah. So
I'm actually,
if they
yeah,
got 50 employees and they have people that can handle, a lot of the stuff, I'm all for it. My business mostly 5 employees or less,
yeah,
solopreneurs and things like that. But yeah, and I think I told you before, I was taught by one of the best of the best. His name was Michael Campbell. I don't know if you knew him or not, but back in the day, he could get, and it was Alta Vista and Ask Jeeves and all
oh
these
yeah.
crazy places on there. It was pretty easy to manipulate back in those days.
That was when Yahoo first came out.
Yeah. So yeah, I still teach the basics, the very basics of title tags and usage and
Mhm.
blog post titles and all the basic stuff. But I really slant towards paid traffic now because I have the money to do it. But there's a lot of good bargains for paid traffic, like YouTube in-stream ads are a big bargain. That's where you can click
Yeah.
the skip button, you know. Um,
Mhm.
so I mean, I can get 2 to 6 cent video views where the same keyword would have cost me $1.50 to $5 on main search. So
Yeah.
you can mess up pretty bad and not burn up a lot of money.
And you're right. There are some ways that paid ads can help out. The big thing to me about paid ads is as soon as you stop paying them, they stop working.
Yeah,
with
there's no
natural.
question about that. It's just they're a really good way to test things.
Oh
Back
yeah.
before the internet, when you wanted to do like a split test on,
Oh my God.
it would take months to do. Where literally in a day you can do a split test on headlines or sales letters and stuff like that. So, um, so it does. Both of them have their place, is
Yeah.
what I say. But I kind of gave up on really killing my, because I used to teach keyword density and keyword proximity and all this stuff. And it was like, oh man.
You got into the real techie nerdy stuff.
Yeah, yeah. No, we did it all. I mean, I was on a major keyword. I was 1, 2, or 3 first page of Google for 12 years straight. So
Wow.
yeah, I knew how to do it, but
Yeah.
it just, anytime what irked me was Google would turn one little dial and then you disappear off the face of the earth until you figure out
Yeah.
what happened.
Yeah. Like
So
that, like their new update that's coming in another month and a half.
yeah, I don't even know about it because I don't care much anymore. Because I use only paid ads. But a lot of the stuff that I do, I think you wrote a book on this, didn't you? It's like the long term stuff that always works. Didn't you? What
Yeah. Timeless SEO
timeless?
secret.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What are some of those things?
In fact, actually, that's one of the things I think is funny about this new update that Google is doing. They're calling it the Page Experience Update, and it was originally supposed to come out in March. They
Uh-huh.
backed it off to June, and the whole premise of it is they want people to get relevant search results when they type in what they want to find,
Well, yeah, yeah.
which is kind of what Google was supposed to have been doing for the last 20 years.
Right. That's how Google. That's how Google came to prominence. Was Alta Vista? You'd get 15 pages of garbage before you found out
Yeah,
what you wanted. Yeah.
I remember that. So really, it's the number one thing that is timeless is content.
Hmm.
Content is king. You do good, relevant content about your business, about what you do, about your products, and you will get higher in the search engines. And the Google Page Experience is coming out in June. Is what I love about it is they're trying to highlight more local businesses to help local businesses get higher in the search engines. And that's one thing I think that they're doing very well. But it really is about content. If you don't have the content there that tells Google what you do in a way that Google will understand, then Google isn't going to put you higher in the search engines.
Yeah, and then there was a period when people were arguing about, well, how many words per page is best?
Yeah.
and it really, as far as I remember, it varied by industry and so forth. So some were 7,000 words, some were 2,000, some were 3,000. So to try to give a number to somebody was ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's more about keywords than it is about words per page, because you only want a certain percentage of your words to be keywords. If you do too many, Google's going to say you're spamming. If you
Right.
don't do enough, then Google's going to pay attention to you.
Yeah, that's the number one mistake in my whole entire career when people have come to me for help is keyword research. And
Yeah.
that's why the number one episode of my podcast is about keyword research. And then in episode 130, I updated it based on voice search
Hmm.
because it's
Yeah.
different. So how are you addressing that?
Yeah. Voice search is different, and even mobile phone search is different.
Yeah.
For instance, I'm going to go back to the chiropractor that we help out. We just
Oh,
changed
he's out
part
of
of it.
business because he couldn't show actual chiropractic.
There you go. Yeah. But we changed part of his website because we found out that 60% of the people coming to his website were coming from mobile phones. And so
Hmm.
we added in chiropractor near me,
Hmm.
and it skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, it wasn't even chiropractor in Tacoma or Seattle. It didn't even have the city name. It was just near me.
Yeah.
So Google knows where you are, on your cell phone, and of course Apple too. The iPhones, they've got the location based, and so it doesn't even matter the city name anymore. You just put something simple like that, and it skyrockets for people on mobile phones.
Yeah. And we used to use the geographic qualifiers as a big deal a long time ago, but
Right.
it's just not necessary anymore. If, the average person wouldn't even know how to turn off their location on their phone, thing.
Right.
So,
but that's also one where you talked about this a bit ago, how it depends on industry. So
mhm.
for my industry, people don't really look for SEO on their cell phones.
Right, right.
They do it when they're at their computer. So I couldn't do SEO near me, or I've done it, but it doesn't do much. I still need to do the location more
Mhm.
than like a chiropractor or someone that has a local office.
Yep. So we got to take a brief sponsor break. When we come back, we'll ask Ty what's a typical day look like for him handling people all over the world, both clients and employees. So, folks, about 23 years ago, I kind of turned the internet marketing guru world on its head, in that people at my level were charging 50 or 100 grand up front to help them. And I knew a lot of these guys; they'd be hiding out in Macedonia if if you gave them 50 grand up front, they'd never help you. So I said, yeah, that's too risky, and it's not good for small business people. So I just said, I'm going to fix this. So I just charge an entry fee, which is about 10 times less than what they were charging. And then I tied my success to your success. So for me to get my 50 grand, you had to make 200 grand. Well, people love this because they knew I wouldn't disappear on them. And 1,700 students later, in 23 years, it's still going strong. It's the longest running, most unique, most successful internet and digital marketing mentor program ever. And I have no trouble saying that because I've begged people to put their programs up against mine on a comparison, and nobody will do it because I'm just a crazy fanatic where I have this big estate where you actually live in the house with me for an immersion weekend. You have my success tied to your success. You have only one-on-one training. We don't lump you in with more advanced people or less advanced people because that's inefficient. So you get one-on-one with me and my entire staff. And then you also get the scholarship to my school, which is another unique thing. It's the only one licensed facility of its kind in the world. So very unique and very powerful. We have a lot of people, like I said, 1,700 people over 23 years, and it's still going strong. So I'd be glad to help you out. Check it out at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. All right, let's get back to the main event. We've got Ty Belnap here. He went from homeless to multiple degrees and is a doctor, and he's quit the dreaded JOBs and is running his own business since 2002. And so what's a typical day look like for you, Ty?
Well, I usually try to get up.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
No, yeah.
That's a good start to every day.
One thing that I learned with having a job was when things were tough. I learned this at Microsoft more than anything. When something bad happened, you were expected to stay there until it got fixed. And there were many times where I was there very long days. There was at least once where I was actually there for 24 hours straight.
Wow.
And so I now believe that if I'm working more than 6 hours, it's time to hire another person.
Is that a week? 6 hours a week?
Oh yeah, exactly. No, 6 hours a day.
That's funny. That 4 hour a week work week guy works 80 hours a week trying to teach you how to work 4 hours a week.
Yeah. Tim Ferriss doesn't do 4 hour work weeks anymore. But I do believe that. I mean, life is too short, and you can work 90 or 100 hours a week and try to make yourself a millionaire, or you can work 6 hours a day and maybe find a slightly smarter way of becoming a millionaire.
Yeah.
I believe in that second tactic a lot more, and I like hiring people because I like helping other people get ahead. And so it's for me, and I shouldn't say I probably actually work more than 6 hours a day, but I have no problem in the middle of the day, if it's a beautiful day, jumping on my motorcycle and going for a ride.
Oh, beautiful.
Or going out and going to the mountain for a bit, or the ocean. That's one thing I love about where I live, is I've got both within an hour's ride away from me. And so, go out and enjoy life for a while. Go do, even with COVID, you can't go to restaurants quite as much, but you can still go out and do stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, I got my dogs. We go out 4 or 5 times a day. Just okay, it's a beautiful day. Let's go out and play ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful lifestyle business. Now you had a lifestyle thing going on when you were homeless, but it wasn't exactly the same.
It's not one that I would recommend.
Yeah. But having those experiences, I'll bet you appreciate what you're doing now.
A great deal. Yeah. It's funny because I look at that as what I don't want to do. And I look at my time in Hawaii, at least the mental wise, the stress-free living as what I like to do. Because when you're in business, it can't be stress-free.
Yeah.
There's always going to be some stress.
Right.
But there's ways to alleviate a lot of it, because a lot of stress is just worry. And most worry is about things that we can't control. And so as soon as we realize it's something that we can't control, then the stress and the worry goes away a bit. And so that's one thing that I try to concentrate on a lot, especially when problems come up. Is my first question is this a gravity issue? Is it something I can control or something I can't control?
A lot of things you can, a lot of things you can't. But the beauty that I like is that it's all up to me. Now, some people want a whole bunch of people to support them because they're afraid of failing, but I got that out of my system a long time ago. You're gonna fail. Just get up and keep going. So, hey, don't you have something to give folks, right?
Yeah. Since a lot of people who listen to your show are entrepreneurs and they're trying to do their own thing, and kind of like with your websites, I created a workbook to help people find out if Google actually even likes your website.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can hire an SEO person, but if your website isn't done right in the first place, it's not going to help. And so they can go to Ty's free book. It's TYS freebook.com and download a quick workbook. They can go over some stuff and figure out whether or not your website's even ready for SEO work.
Yeah, it's beautiful. There's tools out there that'll evaluate the sites, and he's put it all in a book for you. So it's TysFreeBook.com, and I'm winking here a little bit. And watch for his new book coming out on hiring remote employees.
Thank you for bringing that up before the show. I think I might create a workshop on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he's been there, hired in multiple countries, and knows how to evaluate them and move through the process and disqualify people and find the best ones. Yeah. Because they're out there. The good ones are out there, but you just have to know how to sift through with the least amount of pain to get to the good ones.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll watch for that book coming out. So thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, thank you so much, Tom. This has been awesome.
Yeah, no problem. So next episode, folks, we're recording live from Macedonia. All right.
Hey, we're all millionaires there.
There you go. All right.